Hello, and welcome to BizRun. This video will help you understand, set, and assign tasks in BizRun. We will be going over what tasks are, why they are needed, when you, as an administrator, would want to change the settings for it, the different types of tasks, who they can be assigned to, and finally, demonstrate a specific example of them in action. So let's get started. Tasks are all about getting things done and keeping track of them getting done. Tasks can be assigned to people in your organization and triggered as you do certain transactions in BizRun. As a highly configurable HR system, you can specify who needs to do what before transactions are complete, while giving the right people visibility when they are done in BizRun. In a general sense, there are a couple different types of tasks in BizRun. One of the types of tasks are known as to-do tasks, while others are known as busy form tasks. We are constantly working on new features, so you may actually have more task types in your BizRun than what's discussed here. We'll be focusing on the to-do task types in this video and how they can be associated with the different workflows we have in BizRun. The settings for tasks are located in Settings, Tasks. Let's dig into the settings for tasks a little deeper. Here, I'm logged in as Arista, a system administrator, or sysadmin for short. If I click on Settings, Tasks, then this drop-down, it will open up and create the task list for any of these workflows listed here. Let's select Move Filled Position. First of all, there are two opportunities to associate tasks to a particular transaction or workflow. The first is on a global level, which means whenever that type of transaction is initiated, the task list set here will always be associated with that particular workflow. So it's best to set these on a global level as soon as your company starts using BizRun. Please note, only admins can associate tasks on a global level. The second is on an initiated transaction level, which we refer to as associating or assigning tasks on the fly. We'll go over that later in our example. To associate tasks on the global level, you must first click this Create Task List icon. Then, to add a new task to the list, click the Add New Task button. From here, you would need to type in a brief description of the task you would want to add. Next, click the blue silhouette icon to update the assignee, or who this task will be assigned to. Now, there are a few options on who this task can be assigned to. If you want this task to be assigned to a specific person, including myself, every time, I can simply type in or search for that person's name here. If I click this Select an Assignment drop-down, I have more options. I can select by admin role. For example, if I select Org Admin, this task will be assigned to everyone who has been designated as Org Admin. This will be one person or multiple people. If there are more than one org admin, any one of them can complete the task. I can also select assignments by group. If I have a list of people who might be in an entirely different part of the organization and who are part of a group, this task can be assigned to a particular person in that group. For more information on groups, please refer to our help documentation or videos about groups. Another option is Supervisor. If I select Supervisor, this task will be assigned to the supervisor, or in this case, who this person and position will report to after the transaction is complete. Finally, Employee. This is yet another option for whom a task can be assigned to. A typical example of a task assigned to an employee is one that would need to be done during the onboard person transaction. For more information on onboarding, please refer to our help documentation or videos related to that feature. By selecting one of these under the Select an Assignment dropdown, BizRun will automatically assign the task to the right people or person. We're going to use this example later, so I will simply select an employee named Daniel Stitt for the task assignment. He's in charge of training for this fictional company. After we have updated the assignee, we can specify if we want this task locked. As I mentioned a minute ago, the second opportunity to associate tasks is on the fly. Not only can you associate a task, but you can also disassociate a task on the fly. That is, unless this checkbox is checked. If this task is locked, it means that this task must be done in order to complete the transaction. Let's check locked. Before finalizing the task, I can also add comments in this space. This could be used to provide instructions or other details about the task to the task assignee. Now that everything's filled out, let's click Submit to add this new task. Here are other transactions or workflows that have tasks associated with them. Let's take a look at another example of a task list for Move Person to Open Position. To view or edit the task list, click the pencil icon to the right. Once clicked, the task list will pop up. As you can see, there are two tasks associated. The first one is Order New Business Cards, and the second is Update Training Schedule. From here, you can edit the tasks by clicking on the pencil icon for each task. If the task is unlocked, designated by this padlock on the Order New Business Cards task, you can delete it by clicking this X. Notice the other task is locked, so we are not able to delete that from here. You can add attachments or links to more information for each task by clicking on this link icon here, then clicking on Add Attachment. You will need to type in a friendly name and a link. This link could be a path to a document stored on your company's shared network folder, or a hyperlink to a website that might have more information on that particular task. Finally, this green icon is to access the comment or notes for this particular task. When clicked, you can view or even edit that comment here. Now that our global task settings are in place, let's talk about how tasks are triggered. As mentioned earlier, tasks are associated with transactions or workflow. The reason why we say this is the workflow or approval portion of a transaction must happen first before the task can be triggered. In other words, immediately after the final approver votes approve, the items on a task list will be triggered, assigned, and distributed to the task assignees. Furthermore, all of the approvers must unanimously vote approve. If any of the approvers vote reject, the task will not be triggered. If there are no approvals required for a particular transaction, then as soon as it is initiated, the task will be triggered. The good thing about the flexibility of BizRun's task settings is you can have some of the transactions with tasks, requiring something to be completed by one or more people, while others can simply just happen after approval. That is, if approval is needed. To demonstrate BizRun's to-do tasks, let's go through the process of moving a filled position, or essentially transferring a person in a position from one supervisor to another. Here, I'm logged in as Callie, a supervisor for this small department. Now, in this example, we have 4 actors in play. Callie is the initiator. Ronald, in the interactive journalism editor position, is the target, or the person in position we are moving or transferring. Stephanie is the new supervisor that Ronald, in his position, will be reporting to. The other actor will be played by Daniel. He is a task assignee for the move filled position transaction. All of these people will be involved in this transaction, as specified in our workflow and task settings. Callie will initiate the transaction by clicking on the profile, clicking and dragging the position handle of Ronald, over to Stephanie's profile and dropping it. And when she drops it, a form pops up to provide more information on this transaction. And more importantly, in this demonstration, I'd like to draw your attention to what is displayed next to the task field. The number in this little box, 1, designates how many tasks are required to be completed for this transaction. This is actually a button that can be clicked. When we click it, the task list will pop up showing the 1 task that is required. Notice, since this task was locked on the global level task setting, we cannot delete it. The X is not shown here as an option. We can simply view or edit the attached link or comments that may have been provided or set up by the admin for this transaction. Now, this is where the initiator, in this case Callie, can add a new task on the fly to this transaction and assign it the same way the admin was able to assign the other task to Daniel. Callie would simply click on the Add New Task button and fill out the necessary information regarding the task, then click Submit. This task will only need to be done for this transaction. If she were to do this, the transaction would then require 2 tasks to be completed after approval in order for it to be complete. Let's X out of it so I can mention something else. If this task was set not to be locked, Callie would have had the ability to disassociate or remove the task for this transaction on the fly. In that case, there would be no task required to complete this transaction. Once Callie clicks Submit, Stephanie will get notification and the transaction will show up in her active pane. Let's go to Stephanie's active pane so we can approve it, and so I can point something else out. This is a transaction for what we just did. I'll click to expand. Notice here, since Stephanie is an approver, she's able to see all the information regarding this transaction, even the task list. This task list button now shows 2 numbers. The 0 next to the check mark designates how many tasks have been completed. The 1 shows how many tasks have not yet been completed. Since Stephanie, the only approver for this transaction, hasn't approved it yet, the task list hasn't yet been sent out. So let's approve this for Stephanie. After all the approvers approve, the task will now be triggered. Now that Stephanie approved, Daniel, the task assignee, will get notified and the transaction will show up in his active pane. So let's go to Daniel's active pane. This is the same transaction for Ronald's transfer. I'll click to expand. Notice here, when I click the task list button, the list pops up and next to the 1 task assigned to Daniel is a checkbox. Checking this checkbox is how you would mark a to-do task as complete. Before we do that, I'd like to draw your attention to this blue silhouette icon. If you recall, this is the same icon for Update Assignee for when the task was set up in the global task list. This is here for if or when Daniel, the task assignee, wanted to reassign the task to someone else. He could do that here. Instead, for this demonstration, Daniel will mark this task as done or completed, then click Submit. Since Daniel was the only task assignee, Stephanie was the only approver, and the effective date for this transaction was set for today, after Submit was clicked, the transaction for moving Ronald and his position to report to Stephanie is now complete. Ronald now shows up in Stephanie's department. And that's tasks in BizRun. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching.